Is everybody having fun so far? Let's hear it. All right. There you go.
We know it's still early. For a Sunday.
You're welcome, Mike, introduce yourself and we'll go down the line.
Yes, I'll do that. My name is Yuri Lowenthal and I do voices like all these other people.
That was awesome!
Amazing. I'm Tara Platt and I also do voices. This is going to be a very short panel.
Might as well just follow suit. I'm Bryce Papenbrook. I also do voices.
I'm sensing a theme here.
My name is Lee Tokar and I'm an out-of-work mime. And I also do voices, which is why they won't let me do mine because I can't stop talking.
That and your Tourette's.
And my Tourette's.
My name is Dante Bosco. We all do voice. This is a voice panel, right? Shit. For a second, I was confused. Maybe it's because I just woke up.
What?
Oh, you go.
Oh, no, I got my own, man.
Yeah, Scott carries his own microphone with him at Brett's goes.
You were totally looking up my skirt, weren't you? You totally were. Scary.
We have a situation.
In keeping with the general theme, my name is Scott McNeil, and I am also a voice actor. 25 years before the microphone, now manic boy. Back in the old days, we didn't have no fancy microphones neither. You held up the tape and you yelled at it. That's right, tape!
I can't do that voice. I mean, I do often get cast as the older man, but you know, it's really hard. Hi guys, I'm Jane Saxton. I'm a voice actress as well. I do a lot of Funimation titles.
I'm Rachel Robinson. I'm a rodeo clown. I don't know what I'm doing. But I occasionally do voices and yeah, like the rest of these folks. So let's get this party started.
Any questions about rodeo clowning?
Yes, or mine.
Anyone?
Very
Or
dangerous.
miming with Tourette's?
Yeah, it looks like there's a mic up there, and I guess anybody who wants to ask questions.
Make a line.
For the
Hang on,
love
I'm
of
not
God,
at all.
ask questions or we'll just keep ranting.
Yeah.
It's been known to happen.
Or we'll just start picking
There's
some
a
of you
microphone right
random.
there. Just get a line behind the microphone. I'm not going to use the microphone.
So I was wondering, when you do auditions, do you usually do it at home in your own little studios, or do you actually do the auditions at the places?
Awesome question.
Very good question.
It used to be where you'd go in, but now studios are becoming so, home studios are so cheap. Have Apogee microphone, $200. Everybody's got GarageBand. Yeah, convert MP3, mail, done. But yeah, so for the bigger cartoons, I don't know about you guys, but we usually go in because, you know, you want to sit there to get the feedback from the director. But with the, excuse me, it's the roast beef last night. Yeah, so because studios are so cheap, they're allowing a lot more and more for you to do your MP3s at home and just send them in. So thank goodness for that, because I'm lazy and I don't like to leave my studio. So,
And sometimes we'll send it in, and they'll, you know, cull through the thousands of auditions they get, and they'll narrow it down to, I don't know, 20 people, and then they'll have those 20 people in, and you'll have to go into a place, because I think they want to see that they can direct you, like we were saying. They want to see that you're not a complete raving lunatic when you get in the room.
or that you are, but they're kind.
Right, exactly.
I'm at William Morris. You don't. First of all, sometimes you wait for up to 2 hours, but the waiting room is like all the voice actors you can ever think of. In a social event, everyone drinking coffee and ranting about their lives. Sometimes that's a fun part of your day. Sometimes it's too long. And then Sundays, like I'm on vacation and traveling, so I have like a little travel mic about this big. I connect it to my iPad, and I have this app called iAudition.
Yeah,
I audition.
I love it.
Oh, I have a Samsung little, I don't know. I think I'm sexy with it, but I'm really just in the bathroom of my hotel room trying to make voices.
Hopefully that.
That was a great
Okay.
question.
That's an awesome question.
Well, I was going to say also,
add to what you were saying, if you do it from home, also if you get a callback, they want to be able to see if you weren't just Frankensteining a bunch of different auditions together into one. If you can, replicate what you did, and be able to self-direct at home, but then go and do it there. I really like going into audition. I like having human interaction. I like the feedback. I like to know that I'm actually giving them something that they haven't gotten 17,000 of all day. So, but I did auditions from home pretty much exclusively for like the last 7 years, and I really appreciate the opportunity to go in as much as I can.
The majority of my auditions have been in person. That's just kind of how it works because we're at the H. But I have also sent in at the bottom. I've sent in some as well. It kind of just depends. It's like, yeah, across the board here, all of what they said.
But we have a new addition to our panel, who, before he gets coffee in his mouth, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
If you see one actor this summer, let it be Mackenzie Gray.
I've done lots of animation things, and I've been here before for Obadiah Stane and Iron Man, and for Stargate and so on, but right now I'm in Man of Steel, big Superman film, and I played Jaxer, which was a big top secret for 2 years, and I can finally say, like Jaxer, the evil Kryptonian scientist. All right, here we go. Back to you guys.
Next question, maybe.
What would you say is the main difference between voice acting for an animated TV show as opposed to voice actors who voice big blockbuster movies?
Voice actors who block big buster? Yeah, okay. Well, that's a different story altogether. The biggest difference between, if you're asking about being prelay and dubbing, anime, whatever, additional dialogue replacement, I do a lot of both. We do a lot of both up here. We do a lot of prelay work, which is a lot of the North American stuff. Anything with the word man in the title, all the He-Man, X-Men, that's something that I prefer doing because you are working with the full cast in the studio, given absolute full creativity. They animate to what we have done.
It also pays a lot more.
It pays a lot. Whereas anime dubbing, you are in a small, tiny, padded room screaming by yourself, and, well, getting paid for it, which is a nice change, and you are acting with somebody else's lips.
Although I would say, if you're talking about the difference between dubbing, not dubbing, but the difference between doing a show that's on television and a feature film, if it's original, there is no difference really. I mean, it's the same type of session that you're going in for, just happens to be for a feature film versus it happens to be for a television animated series. Like they were saying, prelay and dub is different because it's the timing and all those various elements, but the actual session itself, if it's original, it's basically the same session, although a lot of times with those big feature films, they have a lot of big celebrities, and they can't schedule everyone simultaneously because schedules. It's just not practical because you've got Brad Pitt working on World War Z at the same time that whoever, Queen Latifah is doing something in New York, and like they can't get everyone in the same room together, and so then it ends up you recording by yourself. So, but practically it's basically the same thing when you're talking about the session. You show up, you record your lines, you go home.
Right. And then the money is different sometimes.
I'm reaching a little secret about them Hollywood blockbusters.
I say that.
With the exception, I think, of Pixar, who casts extremely well. A lot of the other ones, when they want to get as many big names as they can possibly get on the box, and let's just say hypothetically that I'm speaking from personal experience here, because voice acting is a very different art and craft over, it's like, dude, man, it's all in the eyes, man. Well, guess what? You don't have any eyes! They will sometimes hire persons such as ourselves to create an interesting character and performance, and then they will sit down and say, here's $4.5 million, listen to this line 15 times and do it exactly like that.
Making us basically a scratch track.
Another thing
That is crazy.
I would say that there's a funny irony about both of these things. It's much harder to do anime dubbing, but they pay us less. It's really hard to match when you've got a long string of Japanese and you have to say it in one word, or vice versa. One word in Japanese is 5 words in English. But the freedom that you're allowed when you do prelay, when you originate the role, is we're paid to have that wonderful creativity. So it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. But what we call stunt casting, which is when you get big celebrities that have now become the norm. It used to be to have a celebrity that was kind of a funny, odd thing to have them in the movie. And now it's like they fill it with people, and as Scott says, not all of them are very gifted voice actors. So it's kind of taken away the work that we used to do all the time. So now you go and you see a movie, and it's like, oh, there's so-and-so, and there's, Cameron Diaz, and there's so-and-so, and it's taken away and robbed a lot of actors who that was their staple work. And as Scott says, sometimes we do the tracks for them, and they copy what we do.
But one story I had, I'm shooting this movie with a big star, Antonio Banderas, right? I'm doing Avatar Last Airbender at the time, so I just leave the set once a week, do an episode in some studio in Toronto, and then one day Antonio's like, where are you going? I'm like, oh, I do this cartoon for Nickelodeon called Avatar Last Airbender. He goes, I do voiceover too. And I'm like, oh yeah, you do. You do Shrek. He goes, yeah, I love voiceovers. I'm like, yeah, it's fun. He goes, yeah, can you believe they paid me $10 million to do like 2 days to do Shrek? I'm like, no, Antonio, I can't believe they did that. And I can't believe it took you 2 days to make. They're not paying me like that to do this little series, but I'm glad that you think that we're voiceover peers. I was like, yeah.
You're making the same, right?
He's like, can you believe that? No, Antonio, I can't believe that. You want to buy me dinner tonight? Or a car?
There's a weird phenomena in dubbing that I will share with you, and I'll see if you guys agree on this. There's something peculiar that happens in the studio if you mess up a line, which sometimes happens, even in the most professionals of the world. Well, you don't, but if you screw up and go off on a bit of a tear, so you're sitting there going like, I will make you this promise. I will with the melon, it will always fit the flaps perfectly. It's weird. I'm just saying.
And I will say though, there's occasionally a benefit to getting celebrities to do voices, and that's that on projects that might not have otherwise gotten done without that name attached to it. Because I worked on a show once called Afro Samurai, which was so weird and awesome that it never would have gotten made if Sam Jackson hadn't said, I want to do Afro Samurai. You know, that never would have happened. So, you know, in rare occasions it actually works in our favor because then I got a job that I wouldn't have gotten otherwise. But yeah, for the most part, that's stuff.
I think it's done.
And I got 20 million actually for that. More than Sam. Sam was pissed. Sam betting Sam, and I didn't get to, it was original animation, but and so people were always asking, so what's it like working with Sam Jackson? I don't know, I haven't met him because he always used to record separately, so we don't always get that. Even with original animation, we don't always get that nice, fun, group of actors in a room.
Thank you for your
All right.
Thank you very much.
I know Scotty and Lee, you guys did you do Ben-Hur with?
Yeah.
Charlton Heston was in doing an animation version of Ben-Hur. And we all killed to be there. I don't care what you get me to read. I'll do 2 lines, I don't care. Because he was in the room. We all got to work with Charlton Heston. Which is
I love when people think that I've met some of the stars and worked with them in the room that I've worked with. Like I was working on 10 Commandments with Sir Ben Kingsley and all these people, and the guy that played Doc Octopus. Yeah. Anyway, so all my family like, oh my God, you met Ben Kingsley? I'm like, oh yeah. He was like phone patched in from some villa someplace. I don't know. But, first time I had, my first celebrity voice, I don't know if you guys remember, first time I heard a celebrity voice on a cartoon was Michael Dorn, who did Worf in I Am Weasel. Oh. That was the first time I was like, that's Worf! And then, now we're doomed. Now none of us will get work because they've realized they can hire stars that don't actually know how to voice act very well, and they'll just have that voice. Anyway, let's move on to the next let's get some of these other people coming up here. You got a question?
Hi guys, how are you doing?
Hi Travis. Hi.
Well, I know that all of us are here today to admire the stars that are ahead of us, but I have a question for all of you. When you were a child, who was that star that you admired and groveled to?
Mel Blanc.
No way.
100% hands down. He's the reason I'm here.
Who?
Mel.
Oh, Mel. I didn't hear you.
Oh, sorry. Mel Blanc. The great, the late and greatest.
Actually, the reason, as much as, I mean, I grew up on Mel Blanc, absolutely 100%. The greatest honor I've had in my career was playing Farmer Leghorn in Big Looney Tunes. But the reason I became a voice actor, this happened when I was 12 years old. I was obsessed with Disneyland. I'll do the short form version of the story, but ended up there after much cajoling. I'm in the Haunted Mansion. As you go in, you hear the marvelous stentorian tones of Paul Frees, you know, "Welcome, foolish mortals." I found out that day that he was also the Pillsbury Doughboy. And something in my head went, beep. I'm not alone. Other people hear their voices too, and I want to do that.
Next question.
Hi, just two things. Hi. Hi, just two things for Scott. One, Scott, I am a big fan of yours, but the last time I met you a few years ago, I asked you to sign something for me. You spelled my name very wrong.
Hide your face beneath your hat.
Hey, no judgment. He's dyslexic.
And he never learned to read!
There's some things, you know, that we're better at than others.
I'm sorry. How badly? Tell me how badly I watched this song.
Have you got one of those crazy Welsh names that's got 85 letters?
I am Welsh.
And it's all L's, W's, and C's.
You spelled my name is Tabitha, but you spelled it Tabit. My name is Tabitha, but you spelled it Tabitha.
For religious purposes, I'm not allowed to actually use the letter H in a written format. I can say it, but I'm not allowed to write it.
That costs extra.
So I am upset about that, but I still love you.
Here, I will give you extra H's right there.
Talk amongst yourselves.
Did you have any more to that question while he's aging?
Yes,
What part of you do you want him to sign?
I don't know. We can play some tic-tac-toe with all those H's.
That's right!
Did you actually have a question?
Yes, I actually do. I was never really a big fan of My Little Pony, but what you did with Flim and Flam, Flam, I absolutely love My Little Pony now. I think you did an amazing job. The Super Slider Squeezy whatever song,
You know how hard it was for us to
made
say?
me fall in love with My Little Pony.
Really? I'm gonna hug you again.
Yeah.
Well, I have a question for the audience.
Can I tell a story about this?
Yeah, in the meantime, what's the female version of a brony? What do you call them?
Pegasus-er.
Pegasus-er?
Bronies, because they're female bronies.
Bronies. Okay, I was just curious.
Pegasus?
Pegasus-er.
Alright.
Well, you got to The original scratch track for that was done by Mr. L. Tokar, and I thought it was quite brilliant.
Well, see, it's the bane of my existence because I worked with Daniel
But
and
it's
I
not
studied
there.
for a week, and they didn't send in my singing audition. They only sent in my speaking audition, and it was very good.
But he's not good.
I'm not bitter. No, I'm not bitter. I'm not bitter. I still play snaps. That's Stephen Magnet, so I don't care.
So I'm taking it you like the singing part?
What's that?
Oh, I'm sorry, for Scott, sorry. I'm taking it that you liked the song, like
I
singing
loved
the
it.
song?
I had that song stuck in my head for like way too. I mean, you know, we do a lot of that. I don't know. And somebody did the other day. I know they're out playing on every radio right now for the Granville Island Ginger Ninja Ginger Beer. Have you heard the ad? Yeah. That's me singing on that. And I just did a theme song for a. I can't read, but it's a pirate-themed song. We'll put it that way for a new cartoon series. So I think I'll do a bit of singing right now.
A lot of us sing and have musical backgrounds and do music. And so, as we were saying in the panel yesterday, Lee mentioned that there's a musicality to voice work. It's essential to how you do speeches, how you do rhythms, how you pick up on each other's rhythms. And the more music you have in you, the more you understand the music. of how voices have to work. And just by chance, all of us have bands and have sung and things. I just wrote a musical. It's been performed all over this province, and wrote all the music for it. So, you know, I think we all sing. You know, they call us triple threats, but most of us have to do one thing beyond that. So singing's one, dancing, acrobatics. You do magic, right? Yeah. And well, these guys do magic. Yeah. So, yeah. We should let other people ask a question.
Thank you, Scott. I will
Sorry
cherish
about
these
the age.
pages. Yes, come on up.
I was just wondering, like, two-part. Like, what is your favorite project to be able to look back on, like to be able to watch now? And what was your favorite project while you were working on it? Like, your favorite experience making it in the first place?
Is it a good answer this? You've been very quiet over here. We worry about you. You know, call you the right.
Well, careful what you wish for.
Best ringtone ever.
I'm not here!
Thanks, Bond. Sorry.
Okay, my favorite thing to look back on was Wonder Woman in DC vs. MK, because it's Wonder Woman, right? That's awesome. And my favorite project to work on while I was working on it, I think was probably working on Ben 10. As I've played several characters on Ben 10. It's just a great room. It's just a wonderful group of people, and I think that's what really brings things to life. Next.
Yeah, I think when you do go to get those group reports, sometimes there's magic in there depending on who else is in the room with you. I think looking back on maybe Afro Samurai, and just because I look back and I'm still amazed that show ever got made, and I still watch it. And during, oh man, working with Tara. No, I know that's playing Superman. I mean, it was my first original animation deal ever, and so I just have such. I guess that's also a looking back on. I have such fond memories. But I mean, yeah, it's the first time I got introduced to a room full of other actors and what that was like. I mean, that was, and every time they'd have like a different guest in, and it's usually somebody that I had admired going back to that earlier question, and so I got to meet a lot of fun people, and it's cool.
I would say, in terms of having fun, a lot of series are fun, but Action Man, I don't know if you guys remember Action Man, but we had, thank you. I played Nick Masters in that, and we had so much fun, it was beyond fun, and Michael Dobson and I were forbidden to stand next to each other after a while, because we kept cracking each other up and doing things, and then they put me over with Tabitha, St. Germain, who you all know, the pony, and Tabitha and I were forbidden to stand next to each other, and so it just became musical chairs in the room because we kept cracking each other up, and every now and then you might be on a show that's not so great, but you have great people like Scott and I were on NASCAR races.
Oh yeah.
Way back. And that was a very fun room with Philip Hayes and there was a director who used to over-direct like crazy on that show, I won't say who, but he would give these long notes and Phil would say, "You have me at hello," and we had a lot of fun. So that would be the big cast. When you're on a room, you've got a good cast. Those are usually great fun. And as far as a favorite, I haven't done it yet.
Nice answer.
I probably, it sounds cliche at this point, but Final Fantasy 13 really was, my first major character, and I worked on it for so long, and I got really attached to it that I would say both looking back and while I was doing it, because just getting to know her and the wonderful director and the producer, during probably, like they were saying, it's so much fun to be in a room with other people. So probably working on Judo and getting to be in a room with some of the people I admire so much and who are crazy talented. But it's a level playing field and everybody gets to play. And probably the other thing while working on it was Hellsong, just because being directed by Taliesin Jaffe, I highly recommend it. And I see a Schrodinger right there, so thank you for coming. And I see a Vanille and Pokemon somewhere else, but it's good to see you guys.
Should I go? Or
Yeah, go ahead.
Cage match!
Should we rock, paper, scissors to see who goes first? Ladies first, go for it.
Aw, thanks. Looking back, I always think of like my first, like you said, my first major role, like that's when and it's interesting to go back and hear what you sounded like. I was on Ghost Hunt. It's anime. And then, I forgot the favorite one to work on so far. You guys do a lot of, what do you call it? Prelay. I've only really got to do like a few of those. So when I did the Mass Effect movie, I liked that experience because it was so much different than, trying to match blacks and like, and fill it in perfectly and getting it just right. Like you had a lot more freedom, you could be more creative and do more options. So that one was the most fun for me that way.
All right, my turn?
Yeah.
Tag it. So looking back, for me, a game called Tales of Grace's F, I had a million lines as the lead in that game, and I spent the better part of my summer recording, and it was just amazing. Every session was super fun, and I really loved it. And working during, I would say, Sword Art Online, as Kirito, because I'm very comfortable with the director and with the engineer and with the Japanese client, and we have a lot of fun in the studio, and I hope some of the outtakes that have occurred make it to you guys because they are ridiculous. I know there's some that won't make it. Let's just say that.
Back to the science. We have the funnest job in the world, hands down, bar none. It's like, especially really work, you go in, it's like a kindergarten class without the riddle. Unless there's kids in the studio, they act like total professionals. I hate them.
They make us look bad.
They do. They sit there reading variety, and they stand up, deliver the line perfectly, sit back down. You're like people were throwing paper planes and stuff. There's stuff that's fun to work on. You can find out afterwards, like, I'm obviously being, a decade and a half on Dragon Ball Z, screaming my brains out and falling asleep in the studio. It was fun. Working on all the anime projects, Gundam Wing was fun to work on because it was such a cool character, Inuyasha. But as far as pure fun and favorite, and the only stuff I've ever watched in my career, I think it's still on actually, League of Super Evil, which Lee and I worked on. Oh, Volter, I don't think this is such a good idea, man. You never think that. That show, we would have to stop the tape often because we would be on the floor, rolling. It was Colin Murdoch, myself, Lee, and Tabitha. And, that was just like, that kind of creativity stuff in a small room, condensed with no exterior venting. That builds up to critical mass. And it was a bunch of the regular, and then Beast Wars. If y'all remember Beast Wars. I know, shit. That cast was phenomenal. The writing on that was the only show that I've worked on as a prelay series where they wrote in a way that it wasn't 22-minute episodes, save the world, sell some toys. It had storyline, it had arc, it has a lot of stuff. One of the things that is satisfying about working in anime is the stories are important and better. And not so much in the prelay, it's like get the product of it. That show was, and it's also a show that, I didn't care that I was in it. I'd be going home on Thursday going, I gotta watch my show. I love the little rat guy. I missed that show Tuesday. And it all condenses down. None of it's under the thing. We're doing this show.
Yeah, I was going to say League of Super Evil too. We had a great time. It was a fun cast, and we all had we've been working together for so long that we kind of know each other's comic beats, and we feed off of each other that way. I also like let me write 2 of the season finales, and for some reason all of my extra little characters showed up in those episodes. So that was kind of fun. And anyway, and also I liked working on Puka. Because I played like 3 or 4 characters in that, and it's always fun when you get to do that and talk back and forth to yourself. That's always fun. And as for my favorite one, it's probably the very next one I'm about to do. I don't know what that is yet.
Yeah, so Avatar was super fun because those are all my homies, like all the cast. But as far as the funnest room, kind of crazy, it's like a very not well-known series that like 26 episodes, but it was like every week for 26 weeks it was Kevin Michael Richardson, Grey DeLisle, Mark Hamill, and that room was crazy. The sexual banter between Kevin Michael Richardson and Grey DeLisle is crazy. Because the thing you don't understand is like, voice actors are all funny or whatever, people are cool, But then when you start talking in the room for like weeks on end, and people start to talk about their lives and their relationships, it's just like this big therapy, crazy session that is just an ongoing hearing about people's sex life. You're like, wow, really? That's how it goes down with you?
There you go.
Thanks.
Thanks for asking that question. Next.
All right. So this one's for Dante, Bryce, and Yuri. So all three of you play a fire-based character. I would like to see you guys debate to see who you think is the best. Fire. Like Zuko explosion.
Zuko is the Fire Lord of the Fire Nation. What do you have?
Bryce's fire-based character.
Rin. That's what I would consider fire-based.
I think Zuko would wipe the floor with me. With Sasuke, right? You're assuming Sasuke is my fire-based character?
I'm assuming that.
Yeah. This is true. Yeah, he would probably wipe the floor with me. I'd be so concentrated on revenge and Itachi that I wouldn't even see it coming.
I played the sun.
I'm the son of Savior. I don't know if anyone's going to be able to mess with me. I just have to pull my sword out and my blue flames are going to burn you down,
Or
man.
just call Dad.
Yeah.
Zuko has a homie named Jake Long who's a dragon. And so, you know, you can double team.
Thank you, though.
All right, thank you.
Next question.
This question is for Rachel Scott.
Original Scott. Original Scott retired 15 years ago. There's 7 Scott McNeils working the concert.
It's like the Dread Pirate Robert.
Exactly. The original Scott. He was retired fitting like a king in Patagonia.
Okay, so
Rachel,
for Rachel, Scott, and Yuri, and Dante. I was wondering, could you guys say something to each other as Fang, Wolverine, Zuko, and Ben 10?
Sure. Hey guys, this is Ben Tennyson. You know, I saved the universe like a million times. What have you done?
I've actually saved the universe and several planets, so I think you might want to keep that bragging to yourself then, eh?
It's kind of...
I'm only joking.
I don't want to cast too fine an aspersion on myself, but I think I might have destroyed the universe a couple of times. Then fixed it. Shit! Don't make me get all Canadian on your mouth.
Yeah, that's not a planet I've ever saved before.
Yeah, you got you there.
I think we're still missing something.
Yeah.
Somebody else get in on this conversation.
Hey, I just want to ask you all, as a geek myself, what are your most like geek out moments of all time? Like you meet somebody who you know and respect in the business, or like, you know, different types of people in voice acting and in movies and stuff. You know, like that. What are your most your geek out moments?
What do we fanboy?
I don't really fanboy on anybody, but
Really?
a couple of years ago I won an Atlanta award, and it was presented by Seth MacFarlane.
Nice.
And he was backstage, and he said, "Hey, good job, Lee," because I played George in the Jungle, and I played George, and he said, "Hey, good job. I watched George." I'm like, "You don't know who I am." He said, "Farlane, man." He's like, "No, it's great." He said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I kind of smell like bourbon." I said, "Really? Can I smell like bourbon too?" And so he handed me his drink, and I'm like, "I'm drinking out of Seth MacFarlane's cup. This is kind of awesome."
He drank a lot of bourbon.
He did drink a lot of bourbon that night. I don't think he drinks anymore though. But yeah, I met Maurice LaMarche, and I worked with him on Gadget, and I love Maurice. Is awesome.
The brain.
Yeah. Yes.
You totally stole my answer. Okay, I've kind of worshipped great actors my whole life, and I've gotten to meet many of them, Joan Gielgud, Ralph Richardson, Laurence Olivier. But the one that kind of flipped me out and who I had spent several hours with, which was a joy, was Peter O'Toole. And he's my idol. And he didn't allow me to be nervous because he was roaring and ready to go and just wrapped me in his arms and said, "Let's go, for God's sakes!" So he was really terrific. So, but it's always great, if you work with people that you've looked up to, idolized, you got to be totally chill when you work with them because otherwise it sets up a weird dynamic. And sometimes that's easy; they make you comfortable. Other times it's a bit tricky. And so I always try and find humor. And if you can find a laugh and you can make them laugh, then you're on the same plane. And it doesn't always work, but it's a good way to start cracking jokes.
So John Gielgud was in Dragon Ball Z, right?
Yeah, he was the original Goku.
Before I really got into acting full force, because I've been a fanboy since as long as I can remember. I used to go to conventions and get autographs and stuff, mostly for the cast of Star Trek and Doctor Who. But I once got to meet Chow Yun-fat, and that was, I think, still bar none, one of my hugest fanboy moments that I try to keep under control too. But you try, but it's.
Everyone tries. And just like a quick question for Dante, what was it like working with, Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker, and the Joker?
Amazing. Mark, you played my father, and he's like, the father-son relationship in Avatar is like Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader. So doing scenes with him was crazy. It's like really, fanboy moment for sure. The first time I ever met him and to play that scene, yelling things at him like, "No, father!" It was like, this is crazy. So that was definitely amazing.
Okay, and one for Scott.
You're not letting everyone answer.
Okay, sorry.
Everyone else has got favorites.
Oh, really?
If you want to.
Go ahead.
I just wanted, I'm curious, what happened to the voice actor for Ravage? For the colony, yes, my queen, and, Ravage, the fire ant guy on Beastward.
You're talking Jim Burns?
Yeah.
He's still around.
Yeah.
Oh, Jim's a force to be reckoned with, my friend. He doesn't do a lot of animation anymore, but he's doing, he was kind of fanboy when I started working with Jim. It's like, oh, it's Jim Burns. Incredible. Jim was very wow. My very first audition I ever did, they wanted a Jim Burns voice.
Nice.
And I'm in there like chain smoking, and people drinking gasoline. And they go, okay, you're next. And they open up the door and Jim Burns walks in. Hello? Hello?
It's for you, Scott.
Oh, God.
Always for Scott.
I did an episode of Psych last year. I got to work with Christopher Lloyd on that. And now this is one of those, like back in the day when we all did all those impressions, hello, Alex, that's the weirdest. Hello, baby, we're going back to the future, honey. It's like, you're working with Chris. Don't do Chris around Chris. And he's terrifyingly intense. Like, we're doing this scene and he's setting up to kill me and just waiting for cameras to roll, and he's just... And I'm going, you don't fucking roll that camera, my head is going to explode like scanners. You know who I'm totally geek out though, fanboyish, and I've been trying to get involved in some sort of convention where we would cross paths, and it's completely non-vocally related, but it is absolutely literally related, is I would love to meet Terry Pratchett, who is one of my all-time favorite authors.
Yes!
Okay! That's the right answer.
Next one was amazing.
Thanks, we're going to move on. We got other people. Thank you, good questions.
Thank you.
When you were children, did you give the world a run for your money? And if so, can you think of a particular run for your money voice actor moment when you were a child?
Let's define that, shall we? What exactly is a run for money?
Were we wild kids?
Yeah, like a funny wild kid moment or something where you really annoyed someone with one of your awesome voices or something.
I think that was like everyone.
What if we were good kids?
Yeah.
I was very well behaved.
I got arrested by 8 police officers for stealing parking tickets and selling them to my friends as Beatles. I was 8 years old, but my father actually had a hard time punishing me for it because he thought it was such a great scam. He just upset that I got caught. bad lesson for you know, five of the best ones you got. Go on.
I say this line all the time regarding for what we do for work. It's like, I'm doing for a living what I used to get kicked out of school for. And people go like, you know, nobody's ever going to want to pay money to hear those silly little voices of yours. I was actually really quiet, nerdy, and introspective and read a lot, which explains the brain.
There are millions of famous stories of people who are told, don't do that, don't make this voice, nothing will ever come of it. I think the best one was John Lennon's aunt telling him to put away the guitar because nothing would ever come of it. You know, and so, thank God he didn't listen to it, you know. I guess, you know.
Not so much as a child. I was actually encouraged to do more with that stuff. That was a place that I found that I could be entertaining because I was sort of shy. I was very shy. But I was routinely solicited to do the Jodie Foster voice from Silence of the Lambs at a moment's notice. Why is he placed in there, doctor? Quid pro quo, doctor. There's something in her throat. So people still call me in the middle of the day, like, please do Mommy Dearest. And I'm like, are you at work? I mean, are there people that are going to get upset about this? Christina! Damn it. So I don't know, that might be a little beyond what some of you care to watch.
No, I'm telling you to do that.
Okay. Anyone else? Or
No, it's good.
Sorry.
Okay, we're moving on.
Thank you for the question.
But you can be bad.
You're
We're
super
not
Elvis,
judging.
man.
How's it going, guys?
All right, man.
Thanks, Super Elvis.
Hey, thank you very much, too, mate. I'll ask for your number later. I know you're probably older than me, but you know, I'm king on flat. Shut up, Elvis. I want to ask them a really important question. Okay, man. Sure, okay, whatever. I have a question for all of you guys. Now, I personally, I don't know about, there's probably a lot of you guys out there that are interested in wanting to be voice actors. Right? Am I right, baby? Am I right? So, I've got a question for you guys, Blair. I've been told that there's a certain professionalism that an actor needs. What about this? The confidence and the panache, animated, that kind of thing. What do you need to be a truly great actor, especially for animation?
Be willing to be silly and play and have fun.
I got that down, baby.
You don't be afraid to looks like you got that in spades.
Animation's at the door for sure.
The secret to great acting is absolute truth and honesty. And when you can fake that, you're way to the
But professionalism is, I will say, you know, we'll goof off all we want up here because it is a huge part of what we do. But I will tell you that if you're just a nice guy, like, don't be a dick, you know. Show up on time, take direction when they give you direction, don't question the director. Be friendly, be courteous. I know for a fact there are certain times that I was hired not because I was the best guy. There were guys in there who probably nailed it better, but they would have rather worked with me and I got cast. And so sometimes it's the one thing that sets it apart.
And don't take it for granted. You know, go in with that. Be confident, be present, but don't ever be entitled, because that's kind of the way to live.
So always be willing to learn and know that you don't know everything. You know, it's a great discovery when you can find new things from other actors or directors, and you know, you think you've got an idea, a director comes by and says, how about this? And it changes everything. You've got to be open to change. You've got to be, as Tara said, you know, ready to play, keep yourself alive inside, but be ready to change on a moment's notice and be in the moment. And it's an old hippie maxim to be here now, be in the moment, don't worry about what happens, don't worry about what is. Being present in the moment is a key to really good acting. And as several people have said, how you get along with other people and how you are in the room is a huge factor. And producers have told me that when they see actors coming into the room and they just see how they are, they'll say, do I want to spend 3 months with that guy? And they'll say, well, you know, it could be anything, but it's like, can I have that person on my set? Is that going to be all? And auditions are often very nerve-wracking, so they know when you're nervous. But what they also want to look at is when they see you on the screen, or they listen to your voice, they say, do I want to listen to that voice? Or do I want to see that person in my living room every week? And that's a big part of the essence that you put out. So confidence is important, but so is just being yourself. Right?
And confidence is actually knowing that you can do it. I mean, I've worked with in music, and anywhere from working in the opera, working with various bands, rock stars, in television, movie industry. I've worked with some huge names, some of whom have been phenomenal people and delights to work with, and professional and courteous and just there, right? Some have been absolute douchebags. My observation on that is those of them, the English-speaking goodly, who are genuinely talented and gifted and able, are the giving, courteous, kind, professional ones. People that have attained a level of celebrity and that know somewhere deep in their shallow little souls that they don't deserve it, those are the ones who the diva, asshole, prima bitch never want to see them again step in the eye with a fork. Because they make the entire experience unpleasant for everybody.
I've apologized.
And the usual thing is, you know what, if you think you're that good, you're not.
It's insecurity, it makes
It's exactly what it is. It's terror, seeping insecurity, and fear. So there's a difference between generally being present and being there and ready to work, and coming in going like, hey man, where's my dressing room? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and don't be self-deprecating, and if you have a bad moment, if you have a bad audition, and don't get me wrong, I totally do this, but don't do it out loud to other people. And we're all actors are insecure, don't let them tell you any different. I mean, they have a confidence in that moment to just, show up and have that burden for the moment, but it's just, honestly, it's a waste of time to do that self-deprecating thing. And yeah, you move on, you go on to the next thing, you never know why you didn't get it or why you did get it sometimes, so. That's the best.
It's confidence, but don't be overly confident. So we're saying, you really gotta take direction. There's nothing worse than being in a room or on a set where an actor gets so rigid because they're so confident or so sure what they're doing that they can't even take a direction from a director saying, change it like this. And what you're doing, the part of the craft of why you study and why you learn is not to find new voices or do what you're doing, it's to be able to be malleable in the moment and have the confidence that you can change performance or make it better by the director helping you. And a lot of actors, especially newer actors, they'll get a direction they can't change, and they'll be doing it over and over again, and the room gets like, oh shit, this is gonna be bad. And it's a simple direction. Can you say this word more like this, or can you be more happy? Can you do that with joy? And the newer actor doesn't even understand what that means, or feels it's a judgment on their performance, instead of the professional actor going, in the moment, we're here to work, do it.
Another thing is that when you listen, acting is listening, as much as speaking and so on. There's an old adage, all acting is reacting, but it's true. And how you listen, Christopher Plummer told me this years ago, that how to keep your camera, in essence, is how you take a line and you think on the line sort of into the middle distance, and then direct what you need in the line to the other person. And it gives the editor a cut, for one thing, but it also gives the other actor a chance to be listening in a way that's supportive. And so it's all about listening, but it's also about listening on set, how you feel the mood. If it's tense when you come on for some reason, don't be fucking around. Pardon my French, don't be messing around. But if it's a light mood, then you can just give and take. Certain sets are very comfortable until the producers show up at 5 going looking at the watch. Oh, haven't got the first show off yet, whatever. So you've got to be aware of all things, and actors have to be aware of each other, the furniture, the timing, and it's all
not about you. On a set, it's not about
You're
you.
such a small part of a whole production.
So it's about listening. And for instance, I'll give you one quick example. A director I was working with many years ago in Montreal, American director, he'd written this indie film that had Pam Grier, Michael Pare, Maury Chaykin. It was a really cool film. And he talked in elliptical terms. And you always had to kind of figure out what he was saying. And he actually got rid of the monitor because he didn't like, he'd worked with Faye Dunaway, and she hated directors that watched the monitor and said, "You're not watching a television, you're watching me, get in here." And so he got rid of the monitors, and he'd watch. So he'd be beside the camera, moving around. You'd have to tell him to get out of the way, because you're in the way. But he came up to me and I was playing a drug addict who's an artist and he's on heroin, he's in this room, and he's supposed to be expansively having fun with this car at his expense. And I guess I was a bit big. And he said, you know what I need in this scene? I need dry white wine. and Michael Bray, who's playing golf, said, what the fuck are you talking about? I said, I got it. I said, am I giving you sangria? He said, yeah. And so I took it down and I toned it down a bit and it was exactly what he wanted. And he said, that was a beautiful Pinot Grigio. And so we understood each other. It's because you gotta listen. And so acting is about listening before anything else, I think.
I did a movie years ago called Warriors of Virtue. And it was done in, nobody's ever seen it, Sharpie But Warriors of Virtue. It was a huge budget thing, shot in Beijing, and then there was these characters in it, these animatronic characters that looked kind of like giant kangaroos, and they were like the 5 leads in it. They wanted them to sort of be... Anyway, the audition process was weird, but we were working with producers and directors from overseas who were not... So it's a weird direction thing. We get this... what I like to hear is, I want the character to be like the water, but not the ocean. I want him to, not the river. I want to hear more of the color blue.
Color blue.
Color blue. It's like, you want it louder or quieter? I could go back. Oh, blue. I want to hear the color yellow in your
I thought you were very blue enough.
I like blue. Oh, we did the blue version, but that didn't get very good.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you guys.
That was the best clap ever.
Yes.
What's the question?
Hi.
Oh, hi.
A slightly sillier question, you may have heard it before I asked it at the convention. If you could give one of your characters some advice, which character would it be and what would you tell them?
I would tell Saskia to not believe everything that people tell me.
I would definitely tell Duo that when Hero said you want to come over for a pillow fight, don't go.
I would tell Covert Agent Ravage to just take a chill pill, man.
I would tell Zoran to just stop wantonly killing people. And I would try to give Fang advice, but I don't think she would listen.
I'll tell Zuko to just kiss guitar. I would tell Jocelyn Peter to learn some better pickup lines.
I tell Obadiah Stane to stop hating his children.
Thank you. Next question.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Tonto.
Hello, everybody. First, I want to say thank you all so much for coming out. So in the Japanese anime, directors try and get female voice actors to voice the younger characters. In English, that's kind of different sometimes. Do you find that creates more opportunities for female voice actors? Are directors wanting to get the male voice actors to try and be the younger characters of themselves?
You mean like play younger boys?
Yeah, like Kid Asbel versus Adult Asbel. And like Mir in Death Note is voiced by a female voice actor. Does that create more opportunities? Or
For females? Yeah, I think so, yeah. I know a lot of girls in anime who play little boys, who get to play little boys, so I think it does create more opportunities, and it's just hard to use child actors sometimes, so it's easier to get a female that can go down, and it's more fun too when you get to play a little boy, because as a stage actress, you don't really ever get to do that, so that's an arena where you can try that out.
The opposite happens sometimes. A lot of my characters in Japanese were women, and I turned them into young boys. So
It's one of the beautiful things about being a voice actor, and I've stressed this before, is if you can imagine it, if you can create it, you can do it. There are no limitations. I have played men, women, children, intergalactic space. I did a show called The Sushi Pack. I played a small blob of crime-fighting wasabi that never spoke. There's nothing about this industry that says you can't do that. If you can do it, if you can pull it off, if you can create it, it's so much fun. You know, on camera, it's like, you know, we really liked him, but his left earlobe was a quarter of an inch too low. I can't go with that. It's such a wonderful place of imagination and no limitations.
It's just most young boys in animation that we do here are played by women. And there was a time when it's still, I'd say, to have a kind of a physical reality reflected in the characters. If they're black characters, they have black actors playing them, and trying to have a kind of no non-traditional casting, but they're not worried about whether a black actor plays a white character, but if it was a black character, they wanted a black actor to have a legitimacy to it. But it's more flexible now again, and but certainly I'd say almost all the young boys are played by women. And but as Scott says, a lot of the time when they want a gnarly old woman, they'll give it to a guy who's got a gravelly voice. I've played a number of them, and you know, Mother Maiden Crone, we get the crone. But as Scott says, it's very flexible.
Actually, on Kaijudo, a role that I tried out for, Jaha, ended up being played by D. Bradley Baker, who is an alien. He can do anything. He's amazing. Sorry?
I love D. Bradley Baker. He's one of my favorites.
Well, and he loved you too. Yeah, because initially they wanted a voice, something like Tangina from Poltergeist. Way up here. But then it ended up being sort of more gravelly. But there was just something about maybe the male vocal voice that just gave it, you know, the wisdom. And I think she was supposed to be several hundred years old. So, and you know, he's D. Bradley Baker, so I'm not really going to argue with that.
And you were right that there do tend to be more opportunities for women to play the young boys, but there tends to be fewer opportunities for female voices in most animated shows. If you look more, the characters are male, so it's great that there are opportunities for women to play the boy characters. So, you know, it's just sort of how the cookie crumbles. There's just fewer jobs for women in that category. So
that depends on the market too. I mean, right now with the popularity of things like My Little Ponies, I mean, up here we're doing that. We just Strawberry Shortcake, you know, all of those shows are suddenly doing this big sweep through. So for a change, it's the dudes that are going. So there's what? There's one male character in that entire show, and there's 400 of us reading for it. That's terrific. I'm so freaking happy.
I'm really sure I'm not allowed to mention yet because it's not out and it's all on the wraps, but it is a female-driven show. It's all two guys in it, and the two guys, one is played by Vincent Tong, you may know, and he's playing a complete idiot, and I'm the evil, you know, warlord guy, and we're both idiots. So, you know, so for a refreshing change, the males are not all that bright, and the women are the driving, intelligent force in it, and so it's fun for them to play.
It's like real life.
Thank you
It's
so
like real
much.
life questions.
Hello.
You got trouble written all over your face.
Not too bad, I hope. Thank you very much for coming. First of all, I found it really cool that there's a Superman connection with both of you guys. I love Legion and I love Man of Steel, so thank you. My question is for all of you. You've done so much voice work. You read this dialogue. How many times have you got to know your characters so well that you think that you might be able to write your own characters better than the writers have written it? And have you ever had that opportunity or hope to write?
Sometimes I don't know if you remember a show called Reboot.
Oh yeah.
But Gary and I were playing hack and slash on that show, and every time that came up, we would do one pass as scripted, and then this is kind of a rarity, but they would just blow open both microphones and go. That was hysterical. Do something else. Go. Do something else. Go. Brilliant. And they always use what just kind of freestyle their minds. No, of course there's no writing credit. Every time I add a word into anime, I want credit for this. I made this little feat. It's dependent.
Well, as I mentioned, I did write 2 of the season finales for League of Super Evil, and I know a lot of the times after we would do our stuff, we would improv a little bit. We'd say, you know, it'd be funny if we did this, and I know that went to script almost all the time. And the same thing with George of the Jungle. I kind of improv when the script for me is just kind of a loose idea. They gotta let me go off a little bit because I get a little Tourette-y. So, yeah, but when you embody a character and you play them, especially when you get one of those sweet jobs in like 52 episodes, by the 40th episode, you're like, okay, I got this. And you just kind of walk in the shoes of that character.
And are you allowed to improvise and add your own dialogue or change a word if it fits your character more? Are you allowed to make that suggestion to directors?
Yeah, I mean, they've let me go off book and do my own thing quite often, you know, because you can't kill the funny. And if your character says, like, if we're improv and we come up with a new line that's obviously hilarious, you know, you never kill the funny. That's what cartoons are all about. They're all about selling toys, destruction, and laughter, and silliness. So it depends on whether you're watching Death Note or anything else other than Death Note.
I've seen writers toil in the writing room, and so generally what I will do in situations like that where I feel like I've got something else is I'll give them one as scripted, so they have that, so they can, and then I'll give them one that I think is funnier, and sometimes it is, and sometimes it's absolutely not. They're like, thank you, that was great, and I know they just want to bring it back to me. So yeah, so
I'm sorry. I've done, like, especially when I've done like things that have a second season. And I've done a couple of those, and it's different. There's always a head writer for the whole series that is kind of keeping it in lock, but sometimes episodically it's a different writer for every episode. And like you do know your character the best, and so I tread lightly because yeah, there's improv moments, but also the writers sometimes feel strongly about something. But I can like my character would not say that ever. Like what? And especially if I know the director well enough, they'll definitely let me change it to something that I know that person that I've been voicing for 2 seasons now would say.
I think it depends again, as you say, what the franchise is. Marvel doesn't let you change it. And you got to phone LA if you want to change an if, an and, or a but. And in television, the writers are very strong in television. So you can't change things usually in TV. You can paraphrase her if the syntax is a bit weird and it's not coming out of your mouth right. They'll let you play around with it. But in film, there's a little more leeway. It depends. And in some films, they say to the writer, would you shut the door on your way out and get us a cup of coffee? So the writers, it's a hard row for writers in film. But again, it depends on the film. In Man of Steel, we didn't change a word because it was, Christopher Nolan and David Goyer, and they're not going to make anything better. And so, but in anime, or animation rather, as Lee says, sometimes the improv is where they find the love and the juice. And if you've got good actors, they'll find good stuff. Tabitha St. Germain, who we've mentioned before, is a master improviser, and is, I think, totally incapable of saying a line without giving it 58 versions. And they just keep the tape rolling. And sometimes they'll cut, because digitally you can swap it in. They'll cut things and she'll be surprised to find the stuff she was goofing around with made it into a finished thing.
And that's when you have the most fun, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, but our job is also to take the stuff they give us and make it as good as possible. Yeah?
Just one question for Yuri. Was it coincidence that you once got cast as a character with your same first name in Kyo Caramel?
I think it was half coincidence and half that they had worked with me before. That was the first time in my career ever that a job ever just offered me the role without me having to audition, because they had known sort of my work was right in the ballpark for what they were looking for. And my name was Yuri, and they thought this was really too close, and they offered, and I said absolutely.
Thank you.
Although the Yuri Lowell question comes up in the Tails games, I still haven't quite figured that one out. There's got to be some sort of connection there.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Hello. From live action work, has there ever been an outfit you didn't want to take off at the end of the day?
All the awesome ones.
Yeah, that's the thing. You're supposed to return all that stuff at the end because it belongs to production and they've paid for it. Depending on the production, they're a little bit nicer about it. You walking away with certain things, but I try to leave everything there. But there are definitely, when I was working on Sarah Connor Chronicles, I live sort of in my mind. I see everything through a veil of like post-apocalyptic, future. All of you are zombies right now, by the way. And you know, I got to dress in all that sort of, you know, wrecked, you know, military stuff, and I kind of wanted to walk away with that, but did not. I showed a little restraint.
I have the Rufio's, I have the Peter Pan sword in my house. People come by like, is that the sword? Yeah, I stole it.
Man of Steel, this is an official picture just now, that's what I created, Jackson. And these costumes were 3 layers. So there's a black silk body stocking that went over you, that was made to you, measured to you. Then the next layer went over, which was a spandex with silver rubber on it. It was molded to your muscles. So you have your muscle out and you flex the muscle and they measure it so it was all fitted to you. And then it took about 15 minutes to get that on and snug over you. And everything, like it measured every single inch of you, believe me. And then the next thing that went over it was this green mesh on the outside, which was a rubberized mesh that had to be pulled on. It was very difficult to get even to get your feet in. And it took 3 people to get it on. All right, and so once you're in it...
Do you sleep in this at night?
And yes, well, you had to make sure you peed before you got into it, so you figure it out. But it wasn't a question of not wanting to take it off. It was murder to take it off at the end of the day. But it was a great relief to take it off. But I've never looked better physically in my life. And a little tale out of school, which is not a bad thing, but Russell Crowe liked how much he looked in it so much that when we were doing the mocap suits for the armor and stuff, he put it on underneath because he wanted to look and feel as best as he could. And we were glad not to wear them, right? You know, because the mocap suits are just loose kind of overalls with a million lights on them. But Russell got into it, so he still looked beautiful. And but a very cool costume. But the best costume that I did buy, and I didn't get to keep, was on The Haunting Hour. How many of you know the show The Haunting Hour? And one that's coming out, it's not out yet. I played the devil as Keith Richards. And they dressed me in very cool rock and roll clothing, long cape coats and lots of stuff, and a very cool hat. And I bought all of it. I didn't buy the rock gear that they had for this one scene, but all that stuff I bought. I love it. So yeah.
I'll just be really, I do so little on camera, I could probably count the number of times in one hand, but I used to do background work on The Young and Restless, because it's just, you know, you go and you hang out, you sit in the pose. I think I played a prostitute. And this is, you know, it's supposed to take place in some tiny little town in Wisconsin, so of course they gave me a hot pink fur jacket and purple fishnet tights and a skirt and these ridiculous boots, and needless, I did not take that outfit home.
We've got like 10 minutes left, and we want to make sure you all your questions. So nobody else get up, and we're going to speed round.
We're going to go lightning round. That's going to be fast questions and fast answers.
What's your question?
Sir, the microphone.
My question is this: have you ever used a character's voice to mess with the minds of telemarketers?
More times than you could possibly imagine.
Every time those telemarketers rue the day that they phone my house. As soon as I see a 1-800 number, I'm like, okay, I got 5 minutes, let's play with these people.
Best one ever, there's one you can find on the internet. It's a guy that has turned the telemarketers call in and he basically turns it into a whole crime scene investigation and instigates. I don't know who the dude is, it's brilliant, look it up, you'll laugh.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hey guys, thanks for coming to Vancouver, except for you, so I know that you live here.
Yeah, thanks for coming, except for you.
If I'm very quick, can I ask 2 questions? Just first one is. I'm sorry about this.
That's awesome.
Just can I ask 2 questions?
Yes.
First one is, this is something I've always been very curious about in terms of voice acting. Do you guys record your lines separately or together? Because or when you're working, because I know that, for instance, in the first Toy Story, Tim Allen and Tom Hanks went through the entire movie without even meeting each other, because Pixar was very strong on recording their lines individually. So is that something that you guys do, or do you record them together?
Well, I know Scott and several of us have talked about this before. It's the difference between prelay, which is original animation, and dubbing work. When you're doing dubbing, you always record by yourself because it's timing. And with prelay, you often record together with the other actors, almost like a table read for a play in the same room. But oftentimes with these big projects with people's schedules, they're not able to schedule people simultaneously. And then you end up recording by yourself, just like you would do with a video game. Even though technically it's original, you're not dubbing to someone else. You've got so many, there's such quantity of lines, you end up going in and doing a studio session by yourself. So you're fortunate when you get to record with the other actors for original animation, but oftentimes for original, with those big titles, they have to record people separately for schedules.
And my second
question.
Yes, my second question is for Ms. Saxton. You voiced Eve Jenner on Baccano, which is one of my all-time favorite animes, and it's one of the few animes that I will actually say that I thought was actually better than the original Japanese seiyuu voice casting. And I was just curious, one of the things I thought was great about Baccano was that it really fits within the timepiece of the 1940s sort of gangster style. And I was wondering, in voicing Eve, what was it like creating a sort of accent that sort of fit within the 1940s, but was sort of your own voice still?
I mean, I just went with like a really standard, and she's very pious too, so, you know, I kind of could draw from that meekness that she had and that quiet sort of stillness that she always had to kind of go for that. But, yeah, I think it's great that you like the dub, because it's just, you know, it's really super American, like, sort of a show, so I think that's why it works so well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon.
Okay, so people, they do rituals before they go on screen or before they voice act. What do y'all do before you guys voice act?
I line my pants with luncheon meat. What, you look like that's weird.
You too?
Yeah.
I yell at other drivers while I'm sitting in traffic. Everyone's in my voice.
Yeah, I sing in my car on the way there to the studio. Singing is, yeah. And I'm a singer, so.
It makes you present. It
yeah.
makes you just sort of not, you know, you're exercising your voice a little bit, and it's just all about fun.
Although I will say, if there's like a really strong video game session, because I play a lot of warriors, so I do a lot of screaming and efforts, just like a lot of these guys up here. If I do have a particularly strenuous session, I will do a vocal warm-up in the car, besides just singing, just to make sure that I'm really awake and loosened up.
And Scott, I'm just surprised that you wear pants. Next question, please.
Because there's no context.
I like to sing. I sing to free up the voice, to free up my breathing. And then it's a great vocal exercise. We all have tongue twisters or little pop things to do, just to get your mouth moving, because you've got to hit your consonants, you've got to hit your palate. So I think we all do something.
They might not be original.
Hey, yo, did you guys sleep well last night?
How you doing, Mark?
Doing good, doing good. Thanks a lot for remembering, Scott. I just had this flashback while just remembering George Carlin, Richard Pryor, and the Three Stooges. My question is, what was your favorite blooper or bonus segment that you ever done before or after a certain performance? For example, the fart chimney.
Like a funny story or something like that. If anybody, maybe we'll just do a couple. We don't have that much time. But I think the story he was referring to is in the first season of Shelf Life, which is a web show that we have that you should all watch. Shelf Life, the series on YouTube. The first season, my costume was made entirely of rubber, and it encased my whole body. It was made from a gimp outfit. And I had these boots that pulled over that didn't breathe, and I had gloves that didn't breathe. So the only hole was cut out for my face, and then I had goggles. It was affectionately termed the fart chimney after that, because once I was off set standing with one of the other cast members, and all of a sudden I went. He saw me go, oh God! And he's like, what's going on? And then he smelled it. He was like, oh, and then he just started laughing because he realized that the only way out of the costume was. I only did that once.
Fart stories?
Yeah, another fart story.
Another fart story.
Yeah, another fart story.
Blame Wolverine. The most male character ever created. The most manly man. So we're in a studio. Keep in mind, studios are not exactly known for their air ventilation. Everybody knows what everybody else had for lunch very quickly. So we're doing a session on X-Men, and it's some ridiculous epic fight. You know, we're in there and I'm, picking up a mountain and hitting somebody with it and then grabbing a planet out of the sky. So it's always... This was the farm of a 3-year-old girl. And they stop, they're like, play that back! Play that back! And it's just, it's a moment in time, is all I can say. Always there for it.
Michael Dobson, who does many characters, you probably know Michael Dobson's work. He was playing in Ninjago. He was playing an old sensei, and he had to talk and give this life lesson like this, and go along about the peace that one finds in oneself. And then he faked hard at the end of the speech. And it was so funny, none of us could work. It was just so funny. And they had to really think about whether they'd keep it in or not. It was just like an old man fart, but he did it perfectly.
Thank you.
Next question.
Thanks.
On a slightly similar thing, but actually, again, thanks to everybody for coming. I was actually curious, what was, if you can remember, the funniest line, or one of the funniest lines that any of your characters that just made everybody crack up? That, like, did you have one funny line or a character that just made you go, what the heck, everywhere?
I need to start writing this down.
Yeah. Most of my characters don't have that good.
Well, there's ones that seem really funny at the time.
Yeah.
It seems funny now.
No, I was curious.
Sorry. It's so happy.
Our brains are all exploding right now.
It's so hard to say because I mean we've done so many scripts and Scott and I are up in the thousands. I did say Dr. Frog did say I found one of my keys once. And that cracked me up after this long because all my characters get lobbed or arced or stretched or squashed, and that was the kind of funny one.
I think something we don't necessarily remember the funny lines because our jobs to make them funny, but we've all had a line that's completely screwed us up that you can't deliver. Yeah. And you can read it on the page, you know what it is, and it comes out of your mouth like in tongues. Yeah. It's bizarre. And so that happens more than funny lines. Where you just cannot, for the life of you, say, I have to go to the store, or whatever it is.
I mean, I'm thinking, like, if you're reading a book or something, sometimes it's not your character, sometimes it's else. It's just like one line or two when you're reading a story, and it's like, it's the funniest line in that book. So you have so many characters. I was wondering if any of your characters, you had a line or two, whether it was your character or not, it's like, that is the funniest thing, like, it encapsulates that character kind of
I'm
thing.
sure we've all had that in the moment, but it's hard to remember it right now.
I don't know how PG we have to be either. Well, this was something done years ago, like many, many years ago. And I'd done thousands of cartoons by that point. And cartoons tend to be very, clean. And, they were all cartoons. We did a thing, and it was actually, it was an educational video, and it was called Bloodstream Follies. And it was about the transference of the HIV virus from person to person to person.
That's hilarious.
It really was. Unfortunately, the guy that put it together did not survive to see it completed, but I was working with Long John Baldry on that. And Long John Baldry is this marvelous creation. There was this marvelous creation of rest in peace, indeed. So we're playing this little pirate crew of HIV viruses going from person to person. And so one of Long John's lines, and I will never forget this, was suddenly belting out as the ship's captain. It's like, vegetable secretions, how